All right, gang. First of all, thanks for coming to the Excerpt channel and checking out this excerpt, clip, if you will, of an ASP podcast episode from the recent past. So you know it's not a whole episode. Whole episodes are available only on the app in the video form. You can listen anywhere you want, any podcast outlet. Listen to the audio version, not a problem. For the video version, if you want to watch the whole thing, get the app. It is literally free to watch on the app. No payment, no subscription required. Go over there, check it out, and I hope you enjoy the clip. Well, alrighty, gang. Welcome back to the Active Self-Protection Podcast. I am once again your host, Mike Williver, and I remain your favorite former Fed. With me today, a new friend of mine.
Wilderness Tactical has been around for longer than the gun you're carrying has been, and they have been making high-quality products for concealed carriers for literally decades. I wear their low pro belt every year. The webbing is the best in the industry, and I won't wear anything else. If you're looking for a good CCW belt, check them out.
From East Texas, it is Rodney, and Rodney is in retail. And East Texas, for those who don't know, is what can I ask? Like, I've been through Tyler and places like that. Is it that kind of area you live in? Because it's pretty wide open out there, right?
Yeah, we're in the piney woods.
Okay.
Lots and lots of pine trees and hills.
Very nice. That sounds lovely. So how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you writing in. I say it every week, but for people like Rodney, there wouldn't be a podcast. So thanks to him for that. So you had mentioned before we started that you had someone that you know or a family member that was in a video that was made famous and changed law enforcement. And you teased me with that. And now I'm dying to know what that's about. So tell us about that first.
Sure. It's a close friend of the family. It was a good friend of my grandmother's and grandfather's. And of course, I met them. They went to the same church in a little East Texas town. And I could throw the name out. Maybe you'll remember it. Maybe you don't. But does the name Daryl Lunsford ring a bell?
I've heard the name, but I don't remember any incident.
As far as I know, he was the first police officer to put a video camera into his police cruiser, and he had a knack for picking out cars driving down the 59 corridor loaded with weed. At that point in time, it was marijuana coming up from Mexico. And he was popping, hundreds of pounds, 500 pounds here, 800 pounds there. And he knew they were going to get him one day. And he decided that to put his home video camera into his police cruiser in the microphone. And he pulled over somebody one day, and he made so many mistakes. And back then in policing, they didn't teach basic Spanish. They didn't teach social cues. He pulled the driver out of the car and was talking to him. And while he was talking to the driver and he had the trunk open, of course, it was loaded with marijuana. And two other guys got out at the same time. He allowed them to get out. The Hispanic male took his hat off and set it on the car, which is a social cue.
Now I remember. Keep going. This is a terrible story.
Yeah. And then he looked over at the other two and said, "Run below." And then it was totally coordinated because one of the guys hit him high, one hit him low, and the guy he was talking to, the driver, went for the gun, and they tackled him, got his gun, shot him, killed him, and then backed over him and drove off. And you can go and see it. I don't think they've ever released the unedited version to the public. Mm-hmm. You probably saw the full thing. But it really did change policing. Of course, they caught all those guys. The manhunt in Texas was probably the biggest manhunt I'd ever seen. We lived 10 miles or so from that area, and they were in our woods area across the street from our house, walking in a line, just walking the woods of troopers looking for those guys. But, now, that brought on dash cams. I think it was really him that kicked that whole thing off because everybody went, "Oh, wow, wait a minute. We know what the suspects look like. He's dead, but we still have a description." And the sad thing about it is he was also known for not wanting any help when he got pulled over. He's like, "Leave me alone. I got it." He was the only one of two, I think, deputies in town. But before they attacked him, you could see a DPS officer drive by and just not stop because everybody knew Daryl's on a stop, let him be. And if that cop would have stopped and backed him up, maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Might have been different. Well, that's really interesting. So for folks listening, and maybe for Rodney as well, there's a few watershed moments in American law enforcement. That's one of them. Another one is called the Newhall incident in California with California Highway Patrol. Terrible incident. The FBI shootout in Miami is another one. The North Hollywood shootout in LA is another one. So if you haven't heard of those, go look those up. It's very interesting. You can learn a lot about how the training has evolved in law enforcement. Even when I started, people were still catching their magazines at the range and doing all sorts of goofy stuff. So I'm glad we've evolved. You're going to say something?
Was that California one? Is that the one where they found their shell casings in their pocket? Because when they were training at the range, they would dump the brass and put them in the pocket so they wouldn't have to clean the range.
That was the FBI one, and I'm not sure if that's been disproven as a thing or not since then. But it certainly, if it's apocryphal, that part of the story, the fact is you're going to fight like you train, more or less. So if you do things like, for example, when I was in one of my academies, the other half of the class, who was from a different agency, had these SIGs that were fine guns, but the magazines, if you did an emergency reload and drop those magazines on a hard surface, it would blow up. The magazine spring would come flying off, base plate came flying off, and you had a mess on your hands. So as a stopgap, they were telling these agents, who were, most of them were brand new to law enforcement, they were telling them, just catch your mags, put them in your pocket, and then reload. And me and another guy who'd been around for a while had to step in and say something about that. That's the Miami shootout. The Newhall incident is CHP, where just one after another officer walks into this bad situation. I advise you to look that up on your own. It's really interesting stuff. So
Definitely.
you personally, your self-defense journey, did it begin with the incident we're going to talk about, or have you always been sort of self-defense minded your whole life?
It's really interesting. As far back, and I really started thinking about things, once I agreed to do this, I cannot remember not at least having a BB gun. I was a latchkey kid. My dad was a Houston police officer for 19 years. My older brother retired Houston police. So, there was always guns in the house. It really kind of blows my mind thinking back that we were third graders running around with no parental supervision with BB guns, and we get home, we cook our hot dog on the gas stove with the hot dog fork, and then jump on the bikes. We lived in Houston, so everybody had ditches, so that was a great place to jump your bikes. You go jump your bikes and then grab your BB guns and hit the bayous and look for snakes and frogs and all that kind of stuff. And even thinking back, we had amazing gun safety, because nobody ever pointed a BB gun at anybody. Nobody ever got shot. Everybody always had a story about a guy that they knew that had to go to the hospital because he got shot and his dad whipped him to half to death. But always been around guns, always had good gun safety discipline. But my real personal carry self-defense didn't start till probably about 2015, 2016. Even though I was, I've always been a shooter and enjoyed plinking around.
Very good. So those of you who are just listening and not watching, you couldn't see the grin on my face as he described my childhood almost perfectly. Frogs and turtles. It was frogs and turtles for me, or trying to shoot a squirrel. I never did hit a squirrel. I tried really hard with my Daisy BB gun rifle, but I never managed to get a squirrel. Anyway, yeah, those were good times to grow up. And it's not just nostalgia. Like I genuinely feel bad for the generation my kids are in, and the newer generation of kids they just don't, most places, unless you live in a rural area, that's not something that happens. You don't come home and make your own after school snack and then run around outside for hours until the street light comes on. You mentioned BB gun safety. I know at some point you heard this from, at least from your mom or some other mom. You're going to put an eye out. That was something that I heard with great regularity. I never did put an eye out either, by the way. So no eyes and no squirrels were injured by me, but good times anyway. So your incident happened about how long ago?
It's been a long time. It's been about probably 20 years. It was early 90s when that happened. And sorry, I'm being totally attacked by a vicious kitten.
Bad kitty. That's a bad kitty. We talked. He said this might happen. He's like Nostradamus. He predicted the cats might give him a hard time. Do what you got to do. Don't worry about it. We got to admit it. Let's see the kitty.
This is the total attack cat right here. It's just it's full on right now.
The sort of thing is why you should get the app, so you can see the cat. You can't see the cat anywhere else. At any rate, so about 20 years ago, just kind of walk us through it in your own words. Take your time.
Okay, and it was. Lived in Galveston for a while, and there was a little bar on the Strand, which is the little main strip of Galveston. If anybody's ever been there. It's no longer, the bar is probably still there, but the ownership and the name of the bar has changed. It used to be F.A. Skippy's, and every Monday night, I believe it was Monday, and there was not a lot of, it was, the tourists were gone. It was locals, and then University Texas of Galveston is there, and Texas A&M at Galveston is there. They have a marine biology unit, and the medical branch from UT is there. So lots of college kids and lots of locals. So I think every Monday night for $10, you would be able to go in, and if for a $10 cover from 5 to 9, you could get all the crawfish you could eat and 50-cent pitchers from 5 to 9.
That
So,
is a dangerous policy for them
oh
to
my
have.
God. Oh my God. So for like $11, you could get snot slinging drunk and full of crawfish. And if you brought your friends for, 14 bucks, everybody was loaded. So, I mean, it was packed. It was just a really happening place. So I had met some college girls there. I started dating one, and we were always hanging out, and that was just a place. And one day, one of her friends comes up to me, and she had met some guys that were there at Skippy's, and she's like, "Oh, we got invited to this keg party. I don't know the guys, but it's on a beach at a beach house. Will you come with me? You can be our guy."